Ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right.
So definitely seems like we have a whole variety of people today on the templates. So let me give you guys a quick run through of how these calls usually work, and then we'll get started on actually diving into a little bit of a deep dive on the templates. So if this is your first Q&A with us, welcome. We're so excited to have you on this Wednesday. How these usually works is we'll do a little bit of a deep dive, show some examples, dig into today we're going to dig into templates and really customizing them, and kind of utilizing all of this additional features that we have now with templates 2.0. So we'll dive into that topic, and then past that, everything's open for questions. So if you want to dive deeper into something about templates, if you want to learn about a different feature, if you have a weird problem and you're not sure how to kind of customize Keeper around the features that are currently in set and we need a little bit of a workaround, everything is open past that. Now, the only other caveat that I'll throw in is at the end, we'll have a recording and any or all of the Canny requests or resources or anything that we talk about inside of that video description. So if you need to leave early, if you need to go back because we went a little bit too fast, everything will be there in that recording, and I'll send that out afterward. So I think that's all of the kind of like housekeeping pieces to get us all ripping and starting. But with that being said, Jody, do you mind kicking us off and getting us started on
Absolutely.
actually talking about templates?
Yeah, let's get going about customizing your template library. As I go through, feel free to drop questions in the chat. Erica will be monitoring that as I go along. And again, we'll be getting to all questions too at the end as well. So just a few things that we're going to highlight today is the new upgrade to Templates 2.0. Give a quick highlight over those. Then how you can adjust them and organize your library. And there's a lot of fun ways that you can get creative with that to help make those templates work for you and to make it easier to navigate that library. First off, I just want to kind of recap how Templates 2.0 has changed. With Templates 2.0, we now have increased flexibility control. Prior to this, it was either project templates or closed templates, one section versus the whole closed sections altogether. So there was a lot of limited there, whatever. Improved edit functionality. So it's a little bit easier now to duplicate. It's easy to break down those 1.0 templates, and we'll talk about that shortly. Being able to reorder tasks and checklists are now a little bit easier to do as well. And you even have access to that section management from your templates area. The options that we have also are more flexible. So instead of just having one project template and closed template, we can now have a variety, a combination, or singles. So it could be non-transaction, it could be questions only. Non-transaction questions only, or your non-closing sections only, closing sections, and then there's a whole room for combinations there. And there are a lot of Canny requests out there to continue these improvements. And I know that Keeper is working hard to continue to enhance this area. So before we get too deep into this, I want to remind everybody that what we cover, we're just giving you examples. We're giving you ideas. Take what works. If one thing sounds really cool to you, then try and play around with that. But do understand that there's no shoulds here. Again, we're just giving you lots of examples from how other people have used it, from how we've used it, and just to try and help wrap your brain around Templates 2.0 and what's possible within that. Erica, did you want to add anything here, or you want me to keep going?
Nope, I think you're doing great. Thanks.
All right, certainly. Okay, so with all that in mind, full 1.0s to individual 2.0s. So this is an example of an old template library listing. These were the full closed templates, and all of these were project templates. We've converted these from 1.0 to 2.0. So now each one of these is an individual template with very specific sections and items. So the full close that I used to have has now been broken down into multiple closing section templates and non-closing task templates. And I've even highlighted some payroll ones just to set that as a group off to the side.
And just to add a little bit more context here, I think what really this allows us to do is break these down and isolate the specific section that we want to manipulate with this template or add to or adjust, instead of having to have our closed section be every single section and dropping things in. So this gives us more flexibility to add these, and we'll talk about how we can begin to layer these on and have more flexibility when we're setting up new clients who may have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So this kind of paves the way for us to actually be able to chunk these down and isolate those sections.
I did just see a comment that you may not be able to see the templates section within Keeper. So I do want to highlight that this is an admin only feature. If you have standard access, standard user access, you're not going to be able to see the templates area. But stick around with us. This will give you some background information and know how things get applied later. So just to give you some tips on converting any 1.0 templates that you might have right now, if you want to break them down into that more granular level, what I always recommend is click on that duplicate, keep your master copy just in case you want to go back to it later. At this point in time, we can't recombine templates. Very easy to break them apart into smaller groups, but not to recombine. So just keep that in mind. I always recommend keeping that master copy, but you can click on duplicate. Then you can remove by just selecting the minus button here. That is available for entire areas. So your non-closing task area or your closing task area, even the questions. So you can remove all of them at once, or you can go individually from section to remove what you don't need in that particular template. You can also click to add additional templates or additional areas and additional sections as well. And then from there, just make the updates that you'd like.
Now with this,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. With this, let's go ahead and talk about how, so there's a lot of options here. Let's kind of isolate how we can adjust how we see these to make it work better for our brain. Let's help get it organized and kind of what we can do to work around some of the limitations within Keeper, because it's organized by alphabet. And because there is no way to group right now, here's a couple of ways that we've found and that we've seen people kind of use emojis and dividers and things like that to our advantage, right? To make this a little bit easier to read and digest. So we'll go through some examples here.
And I also saw another question I want to answer real quick live as well, is how do I turn on templates 2.0? This has already been done for you. Keeper, this was one of their big releases a few weeks ago, so it's already been done. You may not have noticed, which is fine. It was a pretty minimal shift as far as what you viewed, but now you have more flexibility when you're in there working. So you already have it. No need to turn it on. All right. So going into groups, you can create a template, but do nothing with it other than name it to be a divider. So you can use blank templates to create section dividers. So here's an example where like active templates are at the top for me. And then I've got all of the ones that are active below that, making sure to remind myself not to use these and have X's below to kind of separate that out as well. So you can have this template here with absolutely nothing in it, just to use it as a divider. So easy to scan names is also really helpful. With templates 2.0 and the fact that we can get more granular, that means that there's going to be more on your list. So that can get very visually overwhelming. So you can get creative and play around with how you name them to make it easy to scan. For example, like this one, every closing area section has closing in front of it. That's where the template goes. This one's all about their bookkeeping tasks. So that's here. We've seen others that maybe it says tax instead in front, or 1099. So there's ways to name it to help keep them all together in a group. You can also adjust the order with numbers. Of course, you've seen us using those emojis that you know we love. You can hide things at the bottom with the Z. You can also use special characters to group things and to adjust that list. So it's by default, it goes alphabetical. So by playing around with what you put at the front of that name gives you that flexibility to be able to group them or have them arranged in whatever custom order you'd like.
And with that being said, so that's how we can like visually organize these a little bit better to make it easy to find and not have to hunt around quite as much. Now let's get even more creative and talk about how we can use these to add additional, like break these out for the different service lines that we have, or to roll out adjustments, because that's a lot easier now. We can isolate just that section and just that task that we want to maybe add some more detail to. Or if we've added, some, we'll go through some examples next, but this allows us to really isolate those changes and drop them in instead of having to drop in that entire template that kind of puts you back at the template level and may erase some things. So this is a lot less nerve-wracking. And now we can roll out some of these adjustments or kind of layer on a lot easier with a lot more freedom.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the biggest examples that I run into is if we add a new account to the account reconciliation section, and I want to add that checklist that I might have on other accounts. When you initially add them, it'll be blank. There won't be any checklist. So you could have a template that is just the checklist for account reconciliation. So then when you add that new account, go back out to your templates, drop it in, and you've got your whole checklist right back in there. So that's a very popular one here. But even rolling out some new internal processes or updating how you're doing things. For example, the quality control. Having that as a standalone template makes it easy to update that section as you fine tune your processes. And creating templates you can layer. So being able to have them in a more modular spacing here gives you the ability to layer even more. Previously, with templates 1.0, we had to be extremely careful with how we layered, because if we left a section blank, then maybe that would erase some things, and it got very nerve-wracking, as Erica was mentioning. But now with this templates 2.0, it's so much easier to do the layering here.
And additionally, this means that with this modular idea, we could, if we have a client who has bookkeeping, payroll, and we also do tax for them, we can now have all of our bookkeeping tasks that we need to get started and the questions that need to drop in. We can layer on any payroll tasks and questions about how to get access or to request those initial documents and stuff like that. And whether we're starting out or later on we add more services, we can add those in and have either just the task drop in or adding more questions and things like that. So just a really good example. And again, take it if it works, leave it if you're not quite ready for it and you're not quite there yet. But this is an ability that we can kind of think about in this framework for exactly for this kind of client. What do I want to drop in? And layer on later on if we add ARAP or if we add payroll on later, make it easy to drop in those as that scope updates.
And you can add SOPs as you grow as well. So when you initially get started, maybe you just need a task with an assignee, or maybe you're adding in a few due dates here, but you just need a task. Later on, you can add resources. You can add the full checklist of how to complete that task. And you can do this from the template level. As long as this task name is the same as what's in your client, then it will update the checklist. It'll update these added areas for you as you go through. Nice and easy
Jody,
to build. Yeah.
on a quick housekeeping note, can you add in those couple of participants? My computer froze, so I'm not going to push it too hard, but if you'll add those in for me, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think I have access to the waiting room.
Oh, I'll play around on my end. Never mind.
Okay.
Continue.
I'll keep an eye out for him though. So here's some other like out of the box examples of how you could use templates. You could have a template for birthday and anniversary reminders. If you do anything to send notes or gifts or anything like that, you can have that as a template and drop it into the clients you're doing that for. Same thing with meetings, advising appointments, either to remind yourself to schedule that, or even a question to remind your client to book a call. So those types of things can also be added in. Requesting feedback and reviews, all of these things can be added in as different types of templates that you can drop in throughout your close. Going to open up for some questions about the template library and templates 2.0. I know I've seen a few come through. And then after this, we will open up for any other features within Keeper here. So we did have a question of, if you update the template, does it update across all projects that are using that template? The answer is no. If you update the template, then it's going to sit there in your template section. You have to actually click to reapply that to your clients. And when you reapply, it will then make all of the updates for you. Okay. And then how do due dates work inside of templates? If you add a due date at the template level, then when you drop that into the client, those due dates will follow as well. Okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and switch to the demo view here. So bear with me as I switch screens for you guys. Okay. Just to recap, templates live up here. If you have admin access, you will see this templates up above. And then here is where you can go through and view all of your templates. Again, you can play around with the naming. And you'll see that it says client tasks here. Eventually, we hope that there'll be some additional options such as firm tasks. But for now, we've got our clients. So all of this would be dropped into those client accounts. Did have a question about if you'd acquired templates from us in the past or from anybody before this 2.0 came out. The templates aren't affected. They're just now in a space where you can do more with them. So as an example here, I think we have our full close down here. So this, you can see it has all of the sections. So this would be what anything came from a 1.0. This would be your 1.0 version where it has every section built into it. From here, you can make edits, duplicate it, break it down into a more granular level if you want to, but you don't have to. These are still very usable. There's nothing wrong with these. You can just now have more flexibility in how you do your updates. The other fun thing about this is that there's now the ability to hide the section or collapse sections as you go. Before you couldn't do this, you had to just keep scrolling to get to the next one. So that is a nice little added feature that we have in here. Did you want to add something, Erica?
I think that's all I want to add. If you are a client of ours, we are releasing a Loom later this week to kind of walk you through any of those changes and kind of break them down. But at a base for everybody here, again, just being able to, you can leave these as is. This means
Mhm.
that if you get a new client, you can drop in, all the sections drop in. That might be easier for you. But if you're running into individual areas where you want to be able to add the account reconciliation to a new account that you added on later after you applied the template, then maybe that's where we start on those changes and say, oh, okay, for this, I'm going to duplicate this out and create just this section. But I would say allow yourself the space to kind of break out new sections as it makes sense for you and as you need to. Like you don't need to go in and create all of these different templates if you don't need them. I would say err on the side of being conservative and not adding more clutter to your account because you always have the ability now to duplicate that out, remove the sections, and just add that straight back in. So I would say build these out as you need them just to make it a little bit easier on you.
Absolutely. Did have a question is if you hire someone and want them to be able to update and edit your templates, what kind of access do they need? For that, you would come up here to your practice settings, go to manage users, and they need to have admin access. If they have standard access, they will not have this ability to come to templates or the ability to access practice settings, which includes those sections and section management. Any other questions right now about templates or the template library?
I think that's all we had on this. So let's go ahead and kind of open up the floor to any others, whether we want to dive into another specific feature, or if now your question is, okay, can we walk through like applying the template and customizing it? Like floor is open from here, whether it's an adjacent conversation or if you have another area that you'd like us to focus in on, or if we need to slow down and kind of back up a little bit, floor is open at this point.
Great question. We have, how do you assign subtasks to different employees? So let me jump into a client here and get down to a task. And I'll just use this as an example. So your main task, the task name here is what drives your assignee and due date. Below the items here, so your checklist and any subtasks below are just, they fall under this top one. They do not have the ability to have a separate due date or a separate assignee. So if you do have something where you've got multiple subtasks or multiple checklists underneath, but you want them assigned to different people, you'll want to split those out into different tasks.
And there is a feature request out to request that ability to be able to reassign or add different due dates within the within that checklist. I'll include that in the description and kind of send that out afterwards. So anybody that would like that ability can go upvote that to get more attention on it.
Mm-hmm. And I also know that with the user access, that there are canny requests out there to have some more versatility there, since right now it's just standard for admin. It's a basic all or nothing type of access. And I know that there's requests out there to be able to have more control over what people have access to. So we'll look up that canny request as well and include that. Okay, so we have a question about actually creating and applying those templates. So we'll jump back over here to the template section. And we'll just use our pre-close for as an example here. So once I have the template created, we'll back up. Create a new template. It comes to you blank, right? So you can add the sections that you want. If I want to add non-closing, I can do that. It gives me the area. From here, I can choose the sections within that area that I want to add. And you can see that we've got a variety built out here in our demo. But say it's just a sales tax one that I want to do. Click apply to get that to populate here. And then I can add tasks. Once I've built this out the way I want to, have all the checklists, all the information that I want to have in here, I would then come up to click apply to clients. And again, you can add multiples of everything and do it as much or as little as you want in your template. From here, I can select the client that I want to add that to, or all of the clients if I want to. So you can quickly select to add it to everybody, or you can pick and choose. If you have a lot of clients, you don't want to scroll through to find their name, you can also begin typing and it will filter for you. In addition to that, one other quick note is you have all of your properties here as well. So if you have a special property for 1099s or sales tax or payroll or anything like that, you could filter by that to just get those groups. So just an easier way to kind of capture all of the clients that you want to apply to at one time. And I'll click apply. It's going to ask me if I'm sure. And then we'll come back out to that client and we can see what that looks like dropped in. Now, originally I did not have the sales tax section showing for this particular client, but because I dropped in the template that has that section in it, it automatically brings it up here to be visible. And there's my task. Erica, I don't want to get too far behind on the chat, so please let me know if there's other questions popping up that I don't want to miss any.
No, you're doing perfect. Let's see. Greg, I love that you also use Tessie and McTesterson. You got to get creative with the testing names. I've also done McTesterson diagnostics. You can get really fun. Little bit of giggle in everybody's day. So Jody, one thing I wanted to make sure, when we talked about adjusting on that client level after we dropped in that template, did we mention changing the name? I want to make sure that we actually hit on that if we didn't.
Changing the name of the task?
Yeah, okay. Just give the example for like that clear bank feed.
Yes. So when you reapply a template, it's looking for this name. So your actual task name here. If once you've dropped it into a client, you have something special for that particular client that you want to add in here. So for example, we've built it out to say how we want to split up the income and expenses, common practices here. I don't want to lose that if I reapply the template. If I do reapply the template and this name's exactly the same, I will lose all that special information because it'll overwrite it with the basic, with the template description and the template checklist. So to avoid losing that special information, what I did is put the client's initials afterwards. Keepers also talked about this. You can do as simple as adding a period after it, or even a space after it. I've also seen
like an asterisk, or you can use anything that makes sense to you, whether that's client initials or whatever you want. The only, and to kind of bring this back and make sure we're not getting too in the weeds here, due dates, things like that, it's going to be okay if you reapply that template. But if you've gone in and added, if you've added additional information like a specific loom for this client that we don't want to lose, or some of those notes around, hey, here are the common transactions, that's when we'll want to save it by adding something special to the name, so that when we apply that template, it's going to not overwrite and bring that back to kind of the template default. So that's an easy way to kind of make sure that you keep track and save any of those changes that you make that are in the description or anything like that. Again, due dates and the assignee won't matter a ton. That'll be okay.
Right. So as you see, I've got that note here that I've got special things underneath this task. I also have where I updated the description here, but I didn't touch the actual task name. So I'm going to go back out to my templates and reapply this one so you can see what happens. That is my bookkeeping. I'm going to apply that back to the same client. That's what the warning is too, letting you know that, hey, this is going to overwrite if you've added special things. So here's clear the bank feed is different. So it adds the duplicate here. I can delete that one. I've also got, and I think maybe it is pulling from the due date and the assignee since that's different, or the due date's different. Now it's populating a duplicate here as well. That's a newer update for us. And then same thing here. So we'll continue to test because last time we tested those didn't
This was
cause
completely
any
different.
duplicates. But we'll do our testing again and send out another update about what makes it change and what doesn't. But primarily is you don't want to overwrite that special stuff. So make sure that you add in the designator. It's a lot easier to go in to delete something that's a duplicate than it is to go back through and re-update all of those special features you put in there.
Exactly. Couple of questions here. So really quickly, while you're on that, can you actually open up just any of those tasks with a checklist? I have a quick question on deleting the checklist. So now hover over, we can delete that checklist as a whole. We can also reorder these checklists now, either the individual items or these as a chunk. That is brand new for Keeper. And this also is paralleled in the templates section. So a lot more flexibility here, because previously we would have to go copy and paste that into a new in the right. This sorcery is really exciting, Kate. So glad you kind of mentioned that as well.
And yes, Kate just mentioned that they look a little nicer. They did update that recently too, just the aesthetics of how these checklists look.
Exactly. Now, there at this point is not a way to download or export our templates in the same way that we cannot upload or import templates. That is something that has a very common feature request. It is not built in. Now with Templates 2.0, we are a lot closer. Some of those frameworks have been built for that, but that has not released yet. So just keep that in mind. Lakeisha, for the emojis, we either added them as like your go to your command and choose emojis that are on your computer, or my favorite is emojipedia.com, and you can paste in emojis. So they're not in the Keeper like bold format, anything like that, but you can add them in almost everywhere. There's very few places in Keeper that you can't add them in at this point.
Yes.
And then Jody, if you don't mind popping into a question about tags. So Amy asks, can you explain how to use them and apply them to tasks?
Sure. So the tags that she's referring to are right here. They're across the top of my non-closing tasks sections. They're only available for this area within Keeper. Unless you're in firm tasks, that's a whole nother thing. So when you're here talking about your client pages, they're going to be at the top of those non-closing tasks. And this is a way to highlight or differentiate between different tasks. So they were originally added in here before we had the ability to create custom sections within the non-closing area. And that way you could use the tag to break them up. So for example, the payroll tag, you could put those on now we have the ability to pull them out, but you can still use those tags. So they didn't get rid of that feature when they added in the ability to separate out into custom sections. So you can still use them in the same way. We've seen a very wide variety of ways that people use them. Again, you could mark things as weekly tasks if you want to. And what happens is once it's been tagged, you come up to the top and you click on that tag, it will minimize the list that you see to only those tasks with that tag. And once you're done there and you want to see the whole thing again, you just click all and you can see them. So from the client page, that's how you can use your tags. Is it's a way to kind of reduce visual overwhelm. It's also a way that you can zero in on just the tasks that you want to see. In addition to that, though, when you are on your task list, so we're going to go back out to the home page. We're going to click here on the tasks page. Now, as a recap, this tasks page brings in every task from every client, every due date, every section. It is all of them. So we always like to find ways to reduce and zero in on what we're seeing. And we do that through filtering. And you can see that we have a column for the tags specifically. So you could filter by a tag. Once you do that, it's only going to show you those tasks that have that tag on it. So those are the ways that you can utilize using tags, both on the client page and then also here when you're filtering and sorting your tasks across all clients.
And a couple of creative examples that I've seen kind of on a conceptual level, answering the question of like, what tags might you add? We can add on a service level. So payroll, weekly, sales tax, those kind of things to order. I've also seen people use that as a way to note like levels in our team. So junior bookkeeper, senior bookkeeper, sales, admin, those kind of things. I've also seen people use this for priority level. So high priority, urgent, if there's time, when you have space, the non-urgent, those kind of things can also be available here within tags. I've seen these used a lot because right now we do have high priority, right? Stars. So you see that clear bank feed has a star next to it. That marks it as a high priority task in Keeper. We can use that, but especially if you have multiple levels of distinction. So urgent, high priority, get to it next, but because there's a due date, but it's not like drop everything right now, and a if there's time kind of thing. So this allows you to kind of break those up however it makes the most sense for you. So there's a couple of examples for like how you might use this in different kind of creative uses, but also to make sure that we're tying together that these tags are parallel and the same tags as we have in firm tasks. So firm tasks work the same way that we can tag things in that area of Keeper and utilize those tags. So just wanted to kind of paint those two together.
And as we mentioned earlier about Templates 2.0, kind of building the framework to enable us to be able to do additional things, that will also be the case with firm tasks. So changes will come here as well at some point. But this is where she's talking that you'll still see the same because these areas function very much the same as your non-closing task area. I saw a question about tags and the new custom sections within non-closing area about that creating subfolders when it comes to your files. And so we're going to jump back into the client and go to that file section. So here you've got your non-closing sections. And I don't have anything attached, so it's not going to show, of course. But you would have your, just like this one shows closing sections and your financial reports below, it should break those out. You'll have each section will be separated out there. And then I believe the tags will function the same as they had before.
Yep, exactly. And Lakeisha has a question, how many tags can you add? So you can see we have a ton.
I've seen
So
way
far,
more than this.
yeah, so far as we know, the limit does not exist. You will have to scroll side to side in those tags to make sure you can get to all of
Mhm.
them. So if you have more, that'll become a scroll bar. And I have found at some point that you may run into a little bit of a glitch where the more tags you add, you may not be able to change to as many colors. So that is a little
Yes.
bit buggy right this second, like past about 10 or 12, you get all the same colors. So keep that in mind. But right now, as far as how many tags you can have, yeah, we don't have a cap on that at this point.
Right.
Jody, while we're on this, did you already show how we can change the color or the name of these tags?
No, I have not. So from this screen, you can do that right here to edit. Here you can edit the color. So that's the option. Now you'll see the options. Click to select. I don't have any additional options because I've used all of the colors so far. So now if I add a new tag, it's just going to be whatever color is available, or just it'll be a random color. So see, it's a random one, which repeats one that's up here. So once those colors have been used up, you don't really have the flexibility to pick and choose what color is next. And I believe it's done so that you keep having that variety, and not everything will be the same color.
Exactly.
Uh,
And there is a candy request out there. So I'll
from the
add that
post,
in the
yeah.
description. Yep.
You can also access this from your practice settings here on the tasks tab of practice and statements. Scroll down to the bottom and you've got your non-closing tags. So same window pops up from here. While we're here, this is where you can also edit and customize your task status options, as well as your close status options. So all of that is on the same tab here.
And while we're kind of still at least vaguely on tags, Greg, feel free to unmute and ask your question about tags. That's fine.
All right. So my question is regarding, so for example, you have a payroll subsection in non-closing tasks.
Mhm.
If you had made a file attachment there and it didn't have the payroll tag on it, would it show up still in the hierarchy of in the file section? Because that's kind of how I trained my clients back when we didn't have this multiple non-closing
Mhm.
section.
So that's what it would look like. Did I answer your question as you went through? I attached
Does that have
something
the
to my
tag though?
No, it did not have a tag on it. So it's just on payroll, but you can add a tag and see. Oh, it does have a tag.
So if we
Let me
get rid
take
of
it
that
off.
tag
Oh,
and then files, attachments. So it
so it
does
does
do
without
it based
tags.
on, it does it based on the tag still. It doesn't do it based on the section. That
Yeah.
was what I was getting at. Thank you.
That is an excellent point though, and we'll give that feedback to Keeper as well. Because I do think in design we would want that to be the section and then extra tags if that's how it goes.
Yeah, and additionally, like I said, it was kind of originally the workaround for
Right,
not having the separate.
exactly. Yeah, so we'll make sure to bring that up with Keeper. We'll probably put in a cannon request and then share that as well
Yeah,
with this
exactly.
call.
Thanks for popping in, Greg. Really appreciate
Yes,
getting to clear that up for you.
excellent question.
We do have a question about adding folders inside of that file
Mhm.
section. Do you mind covering
Okay.
that?
Yep. So down here's your auto organized folder. So this is everything from your close, like we just showed you the closing sections. All of this is automatically done. If you would like custom folders or to have anything special here, you can do that up here at the top where it says custom folders. Now bouncing back down here, auto organize. This is all going to be driven by how your close is set up. So the different sections that you have in here, like your financial reports, any vendor requests and forms you've gotten back from them. Those are also here. These are all automatically done. So if you create additional sections and add in tasks and attachments there, you'll start seeing those populate as well. The other default one is those that uploads box. So this is from your client portal. It's kind of a dumping ground for your clients to just upload files. So unless you move them to a different folder, they will hang out here. But from the custom folder section, you can add new folders. Once you've added a folder, you can add subfolders. And we haven't played around too much to see just how far can you go with subfolders. But you can do quite a few. And then you can move anything from one to the other. I know I went over that very quickly, so.
Yeah, ultimately in this custom folder, add files is the button that you want, and then you can get creative with how you organize it and kind of get yourself. I would recommend playing with this with either your business account if you have it in Keeper or with one client, just so you can kind of finagle and figure out exactly how you want it before you create this file structure for everyone. I've seen a couple people run into that where you roll this out for all of your clients, and on the fifth one you decide, oh, I think I want to create a different folder underneath here. So use one to kind of play around with, and as your testing ground, we know that one from a sore spot. So test and figure out what you want there and kind of play with it on different use cases, just so you can save yourself some time when you're actually rolling that out. Now,
you can also
Jody,
copy that folder structure. So if you do have if you play around with it and you're like, okay, I've got this the way that I want it, and I want the same structure in every client, you can copy that folder structure from one to another. Kate put in a very good point about custom folders or moving files that clients give you. So right now, just keep in mind, files can only live in one place. So if they've been attached to a non-transaction question and you move it, it's going to disappear from that question. So just keep that in mind when you're moving things around, or when you're figuring out where you want everything to live, that it at this point can only be in one place.
And again, if there's a canny out there, I'll go ahead and list it below, because I know that that's one that there are some people that want to make sure that you can kind of save it in both places.
Yeah.
Jody, quickly, I know we're getting close on time, but one thing we might cover is just kind of digging in a little bit more high level. So that's how to create folders, but I'm kind of curious, and maybe we can bounce back and forth on some ideas on when you would actually use custom folders or why that might be better. I know from my my experience, one thing that I've heard before is if you're leaving them in auto organized, if you're trying to find that and go back, you do need to know what close that's in, right? And go back to that close to see those folders. But I wanted to see if you had additional kind of like insights on where you might break this out into a custom folder, or when you might be okay with doing auto organized.
I think a lot of things, like we see in a lot of areas of Keeper, it's going to come down to personal preference. It's going to come down to that firm preference and like, what do you want to do for your own business? What makes the most sense with your brain, and how, what would be the most intuitive for you? Where would you naturally go to look for it later? And that's going to drive how you end up using these files. So if naturally you're going to go to the close and go that route, then you might want to leave it in auto organized. If you want everything in one place, regardless of which month it came from, then you might want to utilize more of the custom folders. I've also seen people using these custom folders similar to how they have used Dropbox or Google Drive or that kind of thing to collect and keep all of their company documents or all their client documents. So that can be engagement letters, contracts, that kind of thing. It can be employee files if you're doing payroll and you manage the adding new employees to that payroll. You can keep those documents there as well. So there's different ways that people might use these. And yes, you can do it by year. So that's how I've seen a lot of files done. in Dropbox and in Google. So you could do the same thing here, where you might have, if you had a header for bank statements, and then below that it's 2023. Inside of that, it's every month, and then you've got all the different bank statements in there. So there's a lot of different ways that you actually can use it. But I think going and trusting your gut and think, okay, intuitively later, future me, where will I naturally try to go to look to find this? And try and set it up that way. And then as you go, if you realize that, okay, this isn't intuitive anymore, I keep looking in a different place, then that might be a flag to like, okay, maybe I would want to restructure this to a different way that's going to be a little bit easier for me to find. I hope that answers the question there.
No, I think it at least provided some examples because, again, this is like with a lot of things in Keeper, there's no right or wrong. Like some people love it, some people use something different, and then you have plenty of other people that fall somewhere between and use a blend. So I appreciate just the context to be like, hey, how could we use this and where might we want to use this? And just opening up that freedom and space to organize it how it makes sense. There are some people that would rather have it by year, and then I want it by like all of my payroll, all of my bookkeeping, all of my tax, and then kind of categorized by there. There's other people that completely flip that and say, hey, I want to go for tax and then this year and then this, these pieces. So that is where one size does not fit all for sure. But those are some options to kind of play around with. Again, go and play around, test it out if you need to before you roll it out, if you're not quite sure where you naturally land. Alrighty, Jody, we might do one more call for any last minute questions. But while those are coming in, wanted to kind of like give you guys kind of next steps from here. So we do these calls every single month on the third Wednesday. So we will have another one next month, and I'll send out a reminder with the kind of topic, just like we did for this one. After this, later this week, you'll get an update that has, or an email that comes out with the recording. And inside of that, you can go back and kind of click to exactly where you want to go back to see any of our slides or any of the resources or candies that we talked about. And with this, we talked about a lot today. We talked about a lot very quickly. So I want to kind of, anybody who's on the verge, who has way too much written down on your notepad, or who's kind of spinning either with excitement or a little bit of nerves because you realize how much you could do with Keeper, before you get off, before you switch tasks, take a deep breath, choose one. We can always come back and add more, but choose one that feels like it gave you kind of those little like confetti pop when we talked about it. Choose that and then move on to the next one. It's super easy at this point. We've thrown a lot at you to get caught in that overwhelm. So just choose one thing from today. And if you have space, then definitely go back or go back in the recording, go down to the second one on your list, but make sure that you're doing your own due diligence to just prioritize what feels like it's going to be best for you. So that being said, I don't see any other questions. Jody, do you see any questions, or was there anything else that you wanted to kind of wrap up?
Let me just double check.
Sure.
Go through.
Oh,
No,
Jody,
I can see. Go ahead.
there is one from Lakeisha. So with folders, do the clients use those when they're uploading? It's a really good question. I want to make sure we have it in here.
No. From what I understand, they just have that main Dropbox, or they have your questions. So they can attach in one of those two places. They should be able to view some of the some of the files that have been uploaded, if you have it marked as viewed, but they're not going to be able to specifically drop it into a specific folder.
That folder.
Yep. It's
Kate,
either attached to a
confirmation
question.
there.
Yeah, either attached to a question or in that main upload inbox.
Yep, exactly.
Great question.
All right. Yeah, great question. Okay, yep, and just confirming that they will be able to see anything that you've made visible if you've made that folder visible on the files tab of that client portal, but won't drop into that folder specifically, which honestly probably is better so that they're not dropping into your clean and organized files. So that may not be a bad thing right now.
Right. You can see here what we're talking about with visible or hidden. So in this uploads box, there are still 2 that are visible to the client, but there are 3 files that are hidden from them. So that's where you'll be able to see it, and you can choose to hide or you can choose to show to client. So that's where you can find that.
Beautiful. All right. With that, friends, we might go ahead and cut it there so we don't get too lost in more conversations, because we could talk all day about Keeper. Email us if you'd like more info about any templates or getting any support, or just getting a look behind the scenes and being like, hey, there's a ton of new features. I'm not sure what to add next or what to do inside my Keeper account. We're more than happy to help any step along the way. So excited you guys all came and made time for your business to learn about a tool that you are using. So give yourself some props for taking aside the time. But otherwise, really excited that you all made it, and hope to see you next month. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.